Hello and welcome to episode 553 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. Join me as always is the glorious LeagueFreak. You can also find on Twitter at LeagueFreak. How you going there, mate?
I'm going very well, Andrew. How are you today?
Not too bad. Today marks the day that my book in its third anniversary got released.
Oh, nice. Where can we buy that book?
On a bookshelf somewhere, in a shop somewhere. I don't know.
I think it's a best place.
I think it's going to be at QBD bookshops. That's where it was last time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as the days roll on, we'll find out which stores it's going to be at. But I've seen QBD. It's definitely advertised at.
Okay, excellent. I remember going into one of those shops once and finding your book. I think I took a picture of it and said, "Oh, I found your book," which was really cool. So everyone should go out, buy a copy. It's brand new, updated to the end of last year, and has all of the Panthers victories and everything in it. So Panthers fans should go out and get it.
Yeah, it's before this year's misery for Panthers fans, so you still get to read it and be happy while reading it.
Oh, I'm still happy. We're still happy.
Also this week, 30 years since Super League decided to pull the worst April Fool's joke ever.
Yeah, and it was basically all about the vision.
I mean, we just spent the last hour in this talking about how magnificent the vision was. And we're better for it.
Yeah. Well,
the vision is so much clearer now.
Laurie Daly is very big in India.
Absolutely.
That was one of their claims, believe it or not, people.
Did you know, during all of this, Ryan Gerler became he was the face in all of the cartons of milk in China.
He probably was.
Vision.
Some of it was actually milk from cows too.
Not much. But yeah, that was a good one. And then we had the sad news today that the Cornwall Rugby League Club has wound up effective immediately.
Yeah, look, another English rugby league club going by the wayside. It's funny, I saw some English fans saying that, that's not a reflection on the health of English rugby league. Nothing is, by the way. Nothing that happens is. But, it's not just the clubs that have been started recently where they've tried to expand. It's also the ones that have been around for more than a century that are dying. And, Salford players basically went on a strike. They weren't training or anything last week until they got paid. They got a payment come through. But, look, English Rugby League is an absolute mess. And the funny thing is that they keep waiting for the saviour to come in from the NRL. And just doing nothing for themselves, and it's just typical. It's just typical of English rugby league.
That's right.
They don't want to change, and that's cool. I'm happy for it not to change. So
we'll go through briefly an article here from the BBC about the issue here. So the club was taken over by Cornish businessman Kenny Stone in November. But Stone says he's unable to bring in new investors to help fund them going forward. He took over from a consortium that was led by Canadian owner Eric Perez. Was he the one that was running the
Yeah, at one point he was, yes.
The Canadian team, yeah. The Wolfpack, that's the one. So their last game was against Whitehaven, and they were beaten 78-6, which will be their last ever game. He said in here, the news comes as Super League side Salford struggle with ongoing financial issues, which has seen the club lose a host of players and win just one game so far this season. From the Cornwall website, they've got here the club's current ownership group, who gained control of Cornwall RLFC back in November, immediately sought further investment to try and stabilise the club and to grow the game of rugby league through a professional club. Significant progress was made, clearly.
Yeah.
Potential overseas investors, potential being a word doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
To achieve this, although sadly due to the current uncertainties in the United States of America, this has not been possible.
Of course, that's where all the funding for English Rugby League comes from, the United States of America.
That's exactly why we got rid of a team in Canada, set one up in Cornwall.
Yeah.
To get that sweet Yank coin.
Mm-hmm.
The clubs have subsequently explored other avenues to secure required funding, but these have been extensively exhausted, leaving Cornwall with no option other than to withdraw immediately. Thanks, players.
Yeah. And just another one bites the dust. It's so regular over there. And, no one cares. As long as their club's all right, they don't care. I was actually thinking about last night with this takeover of Salford that is obviously something strange is going on with it. And I thought to myself, like, if you had the money that you actually wanted to take over Salford and you didn't actually want the club, you just wanted the license, what would you do? And I thought you'd string it along, maybe hope that it's, I don't know, wound up or something during the season. They give buys or they fix up the points or something going forward through the rest of the Super League season. And then try and retain the license and maybe start a new club with that license elsewhere. I don't know that that's what's happening, but I just wonder. I'm wondering out loud. I'm thinking out loud here.
Can I wonder in a different direction?
Yeah.
The person who's is it owner or head of the group that's owned Salford at the moment, is he not a real estate investor?
Yeah, we looked that up. Yeah, it was one of the things I think he does, yeah.
And like my initial thought was, has he just got the club? I think we might have mentioned this in another episode. Has he just got them in order to try and get a foot in the door for himself personally to get, the ground that they play out of there? That's the case. I think the RFL need to step in and say, no. Like, you can't be doing that. But I mean,
yeah, don't mention Otzel. Don't mention Otzel.
It makes great TV.
It's got nothing to do with Otzel either.
Oh, man, the flu's bad out here.
Yeah, wow.
Right, we've got that under control.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, England.
Yeah,
well done, everybody.
Now, in some good news out of England, the most popular team in English Rugby League history, the Australian Kangaroos.
Well done.
Well, it's true.
You got me there.
It's fucking true, Andrew.
I'm not arguing.
The Ashes series venues were announced this week. So the first game is going to be it's going to be at Wembley Stadium in London.
Oh, Wembley.
Yep. The second game is going to be at
Whitehaven.
No, it's going to be at Everton's home ground. I think it's called Everton Stadium. So that's in I think that's Liverpool basically. Yeah. And then the third game is going to be at Leeds.
Scotland.
No, it's going to be at Leeds on the Headingley Cricket Grounds parking lot. So
I suppose that's fair. You can't have 3 from 3.
No. You've got to have one old fucked up stadium in there, don't you? But they've been selling tickets this week. Of course, the ticket selling process has been a mess. They've announced that there was, I think, 60,000 tickets already sold across the games. I don't believe the Rugby Football League at all when it comes to ticket sale figures. I tweeted a few times this week, just wait for the tickets to come on sale close to the game days because that will happen. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. But
we'll be hearing about the ticket sale issues and how they're constantly wrong for the next 15 years.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. We'll get like in 12 to 18 months from now, we'll find out that the whole series lost money. But the other thing that come out this week is that basically, so Australia will play in the Ashes against England at the end of the year. And then there's the World Cup next year, which is in Australia. And then the following year, England will host New Zealand. So England in the last decade will have left England to play a series of some sort just once, and that will be a World Cup. But I think Australia really needs to have a good look in the mirror and do more.
I mean, yeah. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I don't think either of them are doing that much internationally anymore as far as helping the other hemisphere out. Not that they need to, but England could definitely do a lot more to help out their own hemisphere because, it needs more help.
Well, if you look at where international rugby league was in the southern hemisphere 20 years ago and where it is now, and all the players that have developed through Australian clubs and we've got a Pacific Championship, which is fantastic. And
although it's a backwards, weirdly fucking concocted thing, but yes.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess in the way it's run, but the teams are pretty good in it. How many Australian-born and raised players are in those teams? And so Australia's done quite a bit for international rugby league in the Southern Hemisphere. And look, we prop up English rugby league when we go over there. We propped up the World Cup. We're going to prop them up this time through the Ashes series again. There's only so much that we can do for other nations, and it comes down to other nations stepping up and doing something for themselves. Look, England doesn't even want to do anything for England outside of small towns, so they're not going to do anything, for anywhere. They're very selfish with the way they run the game over there, and that's fine. I've got no problems with it.
Yeah, look, I don't know. It doesn't feel like Australia plays much anymore, even in Australia. And I get because, our season's pretty long and arduous. There's no doubt about it. And, Origin's in there as well, which is the most arduous thing any player can play. Mm-hmm. So I get why it's not happening that often. But what we played three internationals last year.
Yeah.
3 the year before that.
Yeah.
Before that was the World Cup, so we didn't play anything from 2019 to 2022.
Yeah.
But even in 2019, 2 games, 2018, 2 games, 2017 we played in the World Cup, and then just one other test against New Zealand. 2016 we had that last 4 nations that we played, and it just seems to be this thing where if it's not in a competition, like a 4 nations or a World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
We're just playing like one-off tests. So what I'm getting to and what I'd like to see is, first of all, I want to see a proper Pacific Nations thing being played every 2 or 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And every Pacific nation is in it. They're all treated equal. We don't have a plate and a bowl and a spoon and a cup. We all just play in the one thing for the one trophy.
Yeah.
Right? And we all do that. And I'd like to see Australia playing actual, if not, I'd like to see Test series come back against New Zealand, England, and have more regular Test matches between other countries, France, PNG, Samoa, Tonga, all these nations that are around. I'd like us to be playing them a little bit more frequently than just at World Cups. And I know it might seem like it's adding an awful lot to the international calendar and stuff like that, if such a thing exists. It's more of a meme, that international calendar. But I'd just like to see, because it feels like even in the 90s and the 80s, we were playing more regular international football than what we do now.
Yeah, but I think the thing is that, like, I don't care about playing England. Like, we're going to play England, great.
I just said, like, we don't have to play against England. I'd just like to see us playing more regularly, and I'd actually like us to see us playing against the Pacific Islands a bit more.
But that's what we've done the last 2 years in the Pacific Championships, and it's been great.
To a degree, as I said, like, it's still this weird half-assed version of the Pacific Championships.
I agree, but that's not Australia's fault.
I'm not blaming Australia.
But
I'm just saying I want to see them playing more regularly than just a few games here and there. Like, outside of playing World Cups, we might see them play 1 or 2 games every year.
During the season.
Well, I don't care when they play. I'd just like to see them play a bit more often. I think that's part of the problem we've got, why, we are inevitably going to end up, because it happens every year, with journalists saying, people treat the Origin jumper with more respect than the Australian jumper. And I go, part of that's because sometimes we end up playing more Origin games than international matches for Australia.
So I think that Australia is doing what it can at the moment. Like we've played the past 2 Pacific Championships. We take part in every World Cup. Now we're going over to England to prop them up. We probably haven't played a Test series against New Zealand for a while, but I'm fine with that. I would rather see us play more varied opponents, to be honest. Like if I had it my way, like at the end of the year, I want to see Australia line up in a game against Tonga, in a game against Samoa, in a game against New Zealand, in a game against Fiji. That's what I want to see. I prefer varied opponents rather than Test series, and I think that that's better for the international game at the moment where it stands. I think that Test series, you're locking in for 3-game series, and you got to be kind of lucky to get a decent series out of it, to be honest.
Look, I'm fine if there was only one or 2 Test series that happened on the quotation marks calendar. If it's England versus New Zealand or Great Britain versus New Zealand, I'm fine with that. And if it's Australia versus England / Great Britain, whatever it is, I'm fine with that. And that would be it. And the only reason being the Great Britain / England New Zealand one, that was the first ever series we had. And the Australia one, because, what's better than beating England once? Beat them 3 times.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with all of that. But I don't think we need any more than that. I'm not even keen on any more of these, 3-match series or even 2-match series against New Zealand.
Yeah.
But I want to see a Pacific Cup where we play every Pacific Island once.
Yeah.
And whoever the top 2 teams are at the end of all of that, they play in the final for the cup / spoon / trophy, whatever it is, plate.
At least have them in 2 groups of 4, and the 2 winners of the group become, the finalists, and then next year you mix up the groups. Something like that. So over the course of 2 years, you get to see him play against everyone.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could actually just play half the games this year, half the games next year.
You could do that too. But, yeah, I prefer... Because, Australia versus England, I wonder what the result is going to be. England haven't beaten Australia in a series of any kind since Nixon was in office. So it's that doesn't fire me up. What fires me up is our next game against Tonga. What fires me up is our next game against New Zealand. They're the ones that I'm looking forward to. So, yeah.
So it's the first series between Australia and a British side, because the last one was against Great Britain in 2003.
Yeah. What did we win that by?
We won that 3-0.
Yeah.
22-18, then 23-20, then 18-12. And the last test in that series was at Huddersfield.
So exciting.
Why have we not gone back there? We won the series before that in 2001, 2 games to 1.
Mm-hmm.
We won the series before that in 1994, 2 games to 1. We won the series before that in 1992, 2 games to 1. The series before that in 1990, won that 2 games to 1. We always like to help them out. The series before that in 88, we won that 2 games to 1. 86, we won 3-0. 84, we won 3-0. 82, we won 3-0. 79, we won 3-0. How's that? From 1979 to 1988, didn't lose a game against them.
Yeah, they're catching up.
The 78-79 series, we won that 2-1. The 74 series, we won that 2-1. 73-74, we won that 2-1. 1970 was the last one they won.
Yeah.
2-1. And that was in Australia. So the last time, we have to go back further. When was the last time they won one on home soil? Bear with me, people. 62 was the next one they won. That was in Australia.
Nice.
1959-60.
Ah, brilliant. Good for them.
It was actually back when we had nearly every single international side we had at the time was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
1959-60. It's just been a lazy, was it 65 years?
It was funny, the England Rugby League Twitter account has been posting highlights of the England / Great Britain team, and great moments. And And I just keep on tweeting like they lost that series. They lost because they only have been focusing on series they've lost. And then they posted like if you could have any player from the past in the current England team, who would it be? And these people saying players that never won a series against Australia. And I'm like, you fucking idiots. You know, it's like saying, oh, which former Blues player would you like to have back? And you go, oh, Mitchell Pearce, he'd be a good one. You know?
Well, I mean, in fairness, there is one I'd have every day of the week, and that's Ellery Hanley.
He didn't beat Australia.
I know he didn't, but geez.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of him.
As an Australian, let me say, chuck him in and put all of his winning fucking ideas in. Go for it, Ellery.
So you'd be more keen to have, say, let me rack my brain now.
Mike Stevenson.
Did he win? No, he did, but not in England.
How about fine.
Abe Terry?
Oh, good old Abe. Honest Abe, they called him.
You can always trust a man with two first names.
Yep.
Yeah. He would have been the last front rower to win a test series for the Poms in England. There you go.
Yeah, look, the thing about history is that it can reveal a lot of truths. And so they like to ignore it.
This is true.
I had somebody, it was funny on Twitter, I think it was about a week and a half ago or something, and somebody was talking about how close the 2003 Ashes series was, and I was like, Australia won 3-0, that's not close. And they're like, yeah, but the games were close. And I'm like, yeah, but 3-0 isn't close. That's a whitewash. A whitewash is the opposite of a close series. Oh, shut up. It's like, oh, fuck. Nah, 3-0 series win is not a close series. I'm sorry.
Yeah, especially when you look at who was in that Australian team.
Well, it was just like...
You're not going to look at that Australian team and go, yeah, they're all like... At the very bare minimum, they're all Hall of Famers and potential immortals. I mean, you've got Phil Bailey.
Yeah, Phil Bailey.
Shannon Hegarty.
That was wasn't that the series that Chris Anderson dragged in Smith? He was playing over in England, and he didn't use one of the Penrith players that should have been into the side from memory.
Yes.
Might have been Luke Lewis even, someone like that. And he had Darren Smith come in, basically off the street.
Basically.
Yeah.
That was also the series where I think, from memory, Adrian Morley got sent off in like the 10th or 12th second or something like that for a high tackle on Robbie Kearns.
They were celebrating it this week.
Yeah.
They were saying, wow, this is what we need more of. And I was like, yeah, go on, do more of that. Play for 12 players for fucking 80 minutes. Do that. Go on.
He does this thing where he goes around and he tries to scull a beer quicker than when he lasted on the field in that game. I mean, credit to him. That's a fucking brilliant idea. But, yeah, that's basically their highlight.
Yeah. Imagine, like, the highlight of watching Australian Rugby League is the dumbest fucking thing you can think of a player doing. Getting sent off in the first 20 seconds, and that's been super generous.
Yeah. Not brilliant.
No.
So it was a pretty crazy series, that one.
And we won it.
Comfortably.
Yeah, 3-0.
It doesn't get much more comfortable than that.
Yep.
What else has been going on?
Look, the NRL games have been really good. There's been a lot of close games. I love seeing. I think that the season is a lot closer than we first expected it to be, and it's going to be interesting to see how certain teams go through the course of the year. Like I feel like some of the teams I thought they were going to sort of run away and be a top 4 side, they're going to have it tougher than I first expected them to. So that's one of the things that stands out for me so far this year. Another thing that stood out this week was this weird media campaign against Daly Cherry-Evans that's been run, which I think that fans are looking at and are a little bit perplexed because, the media companies, for whatever reason, turned on DCE because with his contract ending, he let the Seagulls know well ahead of time that he would be moving on from the club. And the media just turned on him for no reason at all and were like, oh, his commitment to the club's terrible and maybe he should leave now. And are the fans going to boo him? Of course, the fans cheered him because no one is built like the media, who are a bunch of scumbags. And it's just this media bubble thing where they are acting like Daly Cherry-Evans did something wrong. And he literally has got to the end of his contract and has let Manly know ahead of time, hey, I'll be leaving at the end of the year, which is great of him. And, yeah, his campaign started against him.
It's really weird when the media gets on this loyalty angle. I don't know why. Because, most of these guys were in the media during, that little thing that happened 30 years ago that we mentioned, and loyalty didn't really play much of a role back then.
No.
Even for those guys who, for a long time, had quite a decent living reporting on the game of rugby league. But the minute a little bit more extra money came along, they jumped ship and started poking it with a stick. So, I just find it a bit hypocritical that they want to go with the whole loyalty thing. And also we've been in the world of contracts for 60 odd years now.
Yeah.
Can we just drop the whole loyalty thing? Also, do we remember where Daly Cherry-Evans came from? I'll give you a clue. It wasn't very close to Manly.
Mm.
I mean, if you want to go on about loyalty, why isn't he playing for the Broncos or someone like that, closer to where he grew up? So, we just let that one go past for, 15 years. And now we're going to get upset because he's not going to stay with them for one season at the very end of his career. He gave them the absolute best of his entire life to them.
Mm.
I can't find any reason at this stage to have any issue whatsoever with anything that Daly Cherry-Evans done. He has earned, in my opinion, the respect of every single rugby league fan out there. Whether you want to or not doesn't matter, but I can't see how anyone can have any disrespect for him. That guy has been phenomenal from start to finish, and the longevity of his career is insane. You still watch him now going, he doesn't look like he's close to retiring.
No, he still looks pretty good, and
it's phenomenal how well he's preserved himself and how few injuries he's had in his career.
Well, he's been such a professional. Like, he's looked after himself. He hasn't really got into any issues off the field or anything like that. And, he's the sort of player that, you want at your club that's going to be there for over a decade, and he's going to be there all the time. He'll be one of your better players. He didn't really have any injury problems. And, he's earned the right to go elsewhere. He has the right to go elsewhere.
Absolutely.
That's the point of rugby league's existence, that you can move around and get the most you can. And he even, like he said during the week, I think it was, he was talking about how, like, he loves that last time when he had a contract moment, he had to try and maximize his earning capacity. And then with this opportunity, he can basically look at where he wants to live or what opportunities are out there, and it's not really going to be about having to maximize his earning capacity if he doesn't want it to be. So it looks like he could end up somewhere weird, and that would be really cool. But yeah, it was weird to see a media campaign against him, but it didn't resonate with anyone, which was funny. Another thing I saw this week was there was talk that Lachlan Galvin at the West Tigers was going to sign a 5-year, $5 million deal, I believe it was, with the club. And Phil Gould was saying, negative things about it. And it's funny because Phil Gould's never turned down $1. And it's, the whole point of rugby league is that players can earn the maximum amount of money that they can. That's the point of the game. And to see that a teenager could earn $1 million a year if someone's willing to pay him $1 million a year, personally, I think that's fantastic. And he's a great young player. Like, there's a reason why other clubs are looking at him and thinking, like, how much can we afford? And if to the West Tigers he's worth $1 million, fine, go for it.
Yeah, I think $1 million at this age, that is the absolute maximum that he should be getting. Because he's got a lot more still to learn and do and achieve. And he could probably do all of that in the next 2 years. Who knows?
Yeah.
So he's not being undersold if he does achieve that the next year or two. But it's not crazy overs either, which the club had always been very, very guilty of doing.
Yeah.
And if it does go ahead, then it also shows that Galvin is committed to staying at the club. Well, because he's wrapped up a deal pretty fast if that's the case.
Yeah, and the West Tigers have looked at it. You look at the West Tigers history, and you look at some of the players they had that they lost. Like, there were people at the time saying, "No, don't overpay Tedesco. Don't overpay this guy. Don't overpay that guy," and they didn't, and they all left. And they got huge money elsewhere. Tedesco didn't go to the Roosters on a small amount of money. He went for a massive amount of money. If you've got a really good young player, and especially to a club like the West Tigers, who can't afford to lose someone like that, maybe it's worth it to them. And if they feel that way, well, fine. That's what he's worth to the West Tigers. He'd be worth less to other clubs, and that's cool as well. But yeah, it's not for someone like Phil Gould to, sit in an ivory tower and say, well, you shouldn't earn this much money because it makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, fuck off.
Yeah. I mean, I must admit, unlike you, I sit around the whole day and I just do nothing just wait until Gus Gould says something. And I just go, thank you, Phil. Now I am much more wiser.
Do you reckon when Brad Fittler was playing for the Penrith Panthers and Gus Gould went over to the Roosters, he sat there with fucking young Brad Fittler and said, Brad, I don't think you should take too much money.
Yeah, you should stay loyal to the Panthers.
Yeah, it's about loyalty, and you'll earn more money later on, mate. So you just take a little bit of money now, eh?
Fittler was an absolute freak from the day he debuted.
Well, he was. He was one of those young dudes that straight out of school, you knew that you were watching a guy that was going to be around for a decade and was going to be very good.
Yeah.
So, and Lachie Galvin, like, I'm watching him play, and it's just a similar sort of thing where it's like he's got the size. From game one, he looked like a dude that just belonged in first grade, and he's going to be around for 10 years. And the West Tigers can't afford to lose talent anymore. That's what it comes down to.
They've done good work with their roster and the management of it, and they've cleaned that roster up and the back end and stuff like that really, really well, really, really fast. And that's a great thing. And the worst thing they can do now is go backwards because they've made such big steps forwards for the first time in a long time. So, yeah, I hope he does stick with the club, and it looks like he will. So that'd be great.
That would be great, yeah.
Shall we get on to the game that was played tonight?
Yeah.
Raiders versus Sharks. I made a comment in the pre-podcast that we do.
Yeah.
Just warming up. I said it was the most boring 38 points I'd seen scored until the final minute.
It was a bit of an arm wrestle. The defense wasn't great in the first half, but the game didn't reach any incredible heights, and there was some interesting refereeing decisions. I was laughing through a lot of the second half, just knowing that Ricky Stewart would be going off his head at a lot of the decisions. But at the end of the game, the Canberra Raiders started playing a bit of football for the last minute and a half, and it got them the win. So good luck to them. But the Sharks, it's interesting. I was watching the Sharks and I was thinking, I felt like the Sharks were a little bit better this year than they've been in previous years. I felt like they didn't have the ability to play the sort of football you need to beat the top sides. And watching them tonight, it felt like that again. Adam Fanua-Blake is fantastic through the middle, but even that work he was doing, there was not much coming off the back of that. And I've got to say, with Nicho Hynes, I don't know what you do with him because...
I'll tell you, they just need to move him to 5'8". How often did we see tonight that Trindle was the one at first receiver? Like, stop trying to fucking convince yourselves that Hynes is a halfback. He's not even playing like one at the moment. Just put him at 5'8". Put the 6 on his back and say, can you please start running the ball? That's the first thing that will make a huge amount of difference. And just let Trindle take control because he's obviously trying to because he knows what needs to be done. Whereas Hynes, the number of times I saw him, especially in that second half, on the short side and still running sideways and running his players out of the field, I was like, what are you doing? You've got an extra man up. And he was calling for the ball when there was 5 Raiders on the short side. And he only had himself and 3 other guys. Like, he was outnumbered when they had a player in the bin, and he went that side anyway. And I was like, no.
I just think where the Sharks are at, they can't afford to carry someone. Like, the top sides can't afford to carry someone. And I think that they're having to carry Hynes at the moment. But I worry that if you drop him, and look, if it was just a normal situation, I would drop him. I'd just drop him straight away. Not even a question. But I feel like if they drop him, he might never come back from that. And that's what worries me about this situation is that they're kind of between a rock and a hard place. I just think he's too much of a passenger in that team, and I can't see it being turned around.
But that's why, though, you move him to 6 because you can actually get value out of him there. At the moment, you're not going to get anything if you're going to try and force him to be a halfback when he just isn't. You're denying Trindle from doing that role, which we've seen he can do perfectly fine. And that's what needs to happen. Put him there, free up Hynes, and let him play more of his natural game. His natural game is to run. Let him do that. That's what he did really well when he's at the Storm. And when he's playing well at the Sharks, that's what he's doing. He's running the ball. But when the Sharks aren't playing well, a lot of it is because their halfback is running sideways. And all we saw from the Sharks tonight, whenever they got, especially in that second half, is whenever they got close to that Raiders 30-metre line, it's just, instead of doing what they used to do, and it's still boring, but, they'd go hit up in the middle, go left, hit up in the middle, go right, and then kick to a corner if things aren't working well, or they do run plays where they've got players running on different angles. It was very much a line running heavy game that they had. But when they struggle, they just go one hit up, then go, let's go right, let's go left, kick to the corner. And that's all they do. And it's the same every time. It's 2 right, 1 left, kick. 2 right, 1 left, kick. And that's all they were doing tonight. And just going, at what point do you think, right, if I keep hitting myself in the head with this hammer, eventually it's going to make me smarter? At what point do you go, hang on, I don't think this is working? Because that's what it was. I was looking at it going, how is no one there yelling at those players and say, do something fucking different?
Yeah. But that's the role of your halves. And that they don't have that direction. And I just think, I don't think Hynes is a first grader at the moment, especially in a quality team like the Sharks, and that they are a quality side. And that's the thing that worries me is that, I would rather, if it was my team, I would rather them sort it out now than sort it out in September, because it's too late then.
Yeah.
And I just think that if I was running the Sharks, I'd be trying to get out from under Hynes' contract, try and get him to a different club and go in a different direction, because it's not working. And I think even at his very best, he was handy during the regular season, but he was terrible in the finals. It's just the player he was, and that has snowballed. And now he's taken that finals form. Now it's happening in the regular season, and it's not first-grade football. It's just not good enough. And they can't afford to let this team's opportunity slip because they're in with the shot. You know, they've got players there that can really do a job in the finals, and you can't do that when you're carrying a dude.
No, and that's the thing too. That's disappointing is the Sharks pack. Even tonight, even last week, and even against the Panthers in round one, they were laying a very good platform for the majority of the game.
Mm-hmm.
This pack is very, very strong. They're not just good at making meters; they're pretty good defensively, and they're also good at knowing when to run different lines. They're very hard to contain, but at the moment, the outside backs are just not getting much quality ball.
No, they're jammed every single time they get it.
So I think what will end up happening is you'll start finding Brayley starts drifting out. Like McInnes will start dropping into hooker, and Brayley will start drifting out to first receiver, purely just to give Trindle some room.
But the problem with that is that's a complicated move for a team. When you could, I think you could drop Hines and bring in someone like Atkinson, you know, who's a pretty handy player.
Oh, absolutely, you could.
Or you could, I was wondering what happened to Dykes.
He's got another injury. The poor bugger's done. He did his knee, I think. Not a serious one, but
yeah,
he's still recovering from the knee injury.
Jeez, because they were lining
got
up
so much talent.
Yeah, they were lining him up to be the next big thing at the club, and then he did his an ACL a couple of years ago, and that was the last you kind of heard of him.
Yeah, barely seen him since.
Yeah, which is a shame. But yeah, I think. I just think you don't squander when you've got a team this good, and I think that with Hines in the team, they're going to squander it.
It's definitely a tricky one. They've got to find a way to make it work in the meantime. And as I said, I think just shifting Hines to 6 and Trindle to 7. The only other option you've got, which is more convoluted, is you put Hines at fullback, which we know he's been able to handle before, and it takes all the playmaking duties off him. Mm-hmm. Positionally, he was always pretty good there. Like, he knew where to be for the fielding kicks. He still does a fair bit of it. We saw him field a few kicks in the second half today where he was just there before the fullback got there. His instinct for that gig makes it look like that's where he should be playing.
Mm.
So you do that, but I mean, Kennedy's not exactly a shit fullback either. You can't just drop him.
Yeah, so, I mean, when he's on, he's hard to stop. So,
and defensively this year, he's been fucking amazing. So I'm not. That's where they're at. I think they're just going to put Hines at 6 and Trindle at 7. It doesn't hurt anything to do with their attack, but it just means that Hines gets less ball, and when he does get ball, it's typically going to be when he's got space. So less reasons to go sideways. That's his issue.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to take that away. You see a lot of young halves do what Hines does at the moment. When Galvin was struggling, I think at the start of the year, he got very sideways very early.
Yeah.
And it took him 2 games, and they started to actually start getting a bit of success and rolling on in the forwards, and he started running straighter. And you see, any half will do it. As soon as they start running straighter, defenses will start running backwards, waiting to see what they're going to do.
Well, it's part of the learning process, you know.
Yeah.
And it's normal, and you know, eventually you'll work out that the quickest way running up the field is to run up the field.
Exactly right.
And you know, but you've got to learn that. And you know, the problem with someone like Hines is he should have learned that by now.
Yeah, but the thing is, the first time he actually really started playing in the halves regularly was when he came to the Sharks.
Mm.
So he's on the same learning trajectory at the moment as, you know, someone like Galvin.
Mm.
There's been probably the same number of years for each of them playing in the halves. But yeah, other than that, it was good to see Nakora being more involved tonight. He was a bit quiet last week.
Yeah, he was.
The Raiders' backs looked a lot more damaging. They were running with some intent. And the forwards started to actually free up their hands. They were constantly looking for offloads. And this Raiders side, when their forwards are actually offloading the ball, they do get very dangerous. And they didn't really start trying to do it until I think Young was sin bin. They thought, right, we need to try and find a way to keep the ball alive, because that obviously soaks up time. because the play just keeps going on and on and on, and we don't burn any tackles in the process. But we will say, I think that try at the end, I don't know if any team would have actually shut that down. That was fucking amazing to watch.
Yeah, that was cool. And it's funny when you see the ball bounce, you think it's bounced terribly, but then it's bounced just perfectly.
Yeah.
And then, it was just one of those plays. Man, sometimes you end up just on the wrong end of a beautifully horrible bounce.
And that's all it was. That's all it was that sunk the Sharks today. Because they had the advantage with the penalty count. They had the advantage with plays in the opposition 20. They had the field position. They had the possession. They were just playing too predictably.
They didn't have a closer. And you got to have a closer.
But even when they got down close to the line, they got caught on the last several times in the tail end of that game.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because they were caught trying to do something. It was caught by a nothing play.
Well, I
think one was Hines trying to run at the line when he had three defenders in front of him. You're not getting through, mate. Who do you think you are?
I think that some of these teams play so much to the... I think that there's certain statistics that teams are getting out of games, right? And I feel like some of the kicks we see, which instead of kicking down to, say, the 10-metre line or with a long bomb, you kick to, say, the 20-metre line, and it seems a bit shallow. And things like running it on the last just to keep someone down in the corner, and trust in your defence. I think some teams, another one is put the bomb up and don't contest it. Let the other team make a mistake.
Which the Storm used to do a lot of.
Yeah. Now, I think that a lot of teams are looking at statistics like that, and they're playing to those statistics. They're being coached to those statistics. The problem is, I don't think every team is going to get the same results as the better teams do from those statistics. So when Penrith runs it into a corner on the last tackle, and then you've got to go 90 metres against the Penrith defence that we've seen over the last 5 years, that is a fantastic play for Penrith, because good luck,
Yeah.
Things like that work for Penrith and probably don't really work for anyone else. But statistically, they work so well for Penrith, I think that probably skews what teams are seeing in their stats. And so, the thing I don't want, if I'm the opposition of the Sharks, the thing I don't want them to do is to kick to their corners. And they didn't kick to their corners last night when they were in scoring in the red zone. I said the red zone, I hate myself right now.
You got sucked in.
I fucking hate myself.
I didn't even lead you into that. I was sitting there going, he's making very salient points. And then you've gone and dropped a red zone.
Fucking red zone. Fucking idiot.
Did you mention that was the middle forwards?
Anyway, when they're in the 20-metre zone, I don't want the Sharks kicking to their wingers, right? I would rather them kick that 3/4 length to just inside the centres and their second rowers. That works better for other teams, but it doesn't work well for the Sharks. And that's what they did tonight,
Yeah.
I think that I think teams are seeing stats and they're playing percentages, and sometimes it doesn't work for the personnel they've got.
Yeah, I think the best way to describe that is being a bit too cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to get a bit of eyes up footy and just play what's in front of you.
100%. Because I tell you what, when it comes down to it, teams like the Panthers and the Storm, they will do these percentage plays a lot. But then when you look at the big moments in games, they're not doing those things. They're going for it.
I can't argue with any of that. It's been something that nearly every team has been guilty of at some stage. They just get in a rut and they just keep doing the same ineffective thing over and over and over again. And all it takes is just a really crap team in really crap form to make that stuff work. And they go, what if we try something else? And they go, oh, that's right. We've unlocked the keys and we've found all the other players that we had. Yeah. That's the other thing we're seeing too at the moment with Penrith is it's not so much their attack that's doing, it's their defence not numbering up again.
Yeah.
And it's just weird to see.
Well, they've got so many different players in and out of their side at the moment, especially compared to last year. The team that had settled, but
that is true. But I mean, at the same time, I remember like during Origin, you get like 4 or 5 players leaving that Panther side at once, and they just bring in a bunch of young guys, and they just went slotted straight in, and they just took over in the same, pretty much identical sort of systems and structures defensively as the players they just replaced. They weren't the same in attack, but defensively they were just as strong. But now we're seeing when they lose someone and they've got to move someone around, the entire defensive makeup is not the same anymore. And it looks like there's, and this is understandable, a complete lack of cohesion in the defensive line. Their attack still looks fine, but their defense it's a completely different beast now. And I did say last year that I thought that was going to be the thing that had to change with Luai not being there. And I don't think enough work's been done to cover the loss of Luai and what he did for the defensive line, because they look a mess at times.
Yeah, and like you can see what Luai's done just in last-ditch tackles for the West Tigers just this year already. It's crazy the work he gets through. I wonder if Ivan Cleary could have his off-season over again if he would have Blaze Talangi play, like just burn the off-season on Blaze Talangi playing at 5/8. Because they look like they need a little bit more in attack at 5/8 than Jack Cole has been given them. But like that, look, they've lost Edwards. They basically haven't had him playing. He's either not played well or he's been out so far this year. They've been without Cleary basically for the last 2 games. One of them against the Storm. They've had To'o have a hammy injury and he's out again this week with that. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I think most people are not too worried about the Panthers, to be honest, because we kind of are expecting them to be good by the end of the year. But the problem is, if the hole gets too large at this point of the season, all of a sudden you got to play your ass off to try, because you want a top 4 spot. Everyone wants a top 4 spot. And it could just turn into you don't quite make it. You get, say, 6th place. That's an extra week you're playing in the finals. That's an extra game you're putting into everyone. That's an extra chance to get injured. And it can just, that's why it's so hard to win one. It doesn't take much to go against you. And it's over, and that's the thing that worries me. The other thing that worries me too is that now we're at a point where if Cleary's out, our chances of winning are very, very low. Whereas last year, if Cleary was out, we're we got Luai and we'll chuck a young dude in and we're sweet. We can't do that now.
No, that's right. I think if Penrith come out this week and they're able to, even if they lose, but they're able to keep their opponent to a much lower score, because defensively so far this year they've been leaking points pretty bad. 22 against the Sharks, 38 against the Roosters, 30 against Melbourne, 28 last week against South. If they can keep their opponent this week, which is the Cowboys, to less than 18 points, I think Cleary will go, okay, you know what? That's just what we have to do. We've got to get the defence right, because they've always been a side that their attack works off the back of their defence. And I think they need to get that right and fast. So, you know what? If it means one more loss this week to get that defence on track, so be it. If it leads to a run of 6, 7, 8 wins after that, and you climb back up and you're close to the top 4 again by the middle of the year, that's fine. We're back where we need to be, and we're doing winning again. So the only way is up after that. But
So
they can't be struggling for any more than this week. Like, they have to get shit right this week.
Yeah, I'll be angry if they don't win against Cowboys, and people listening to this will know the result already. So, yeah. So you'll know if I'm angry or not.
He's always angry.
I always am angry.
Always. What else has been going on? Has there been anything else taking place?
Not too much. The only thing that jumped out at me this week was somebody posted a clip of NRL 360. I can't even remember what they were talking about. And
Well, to be honest, it's hard to tell what they're talking about.
Honestly, when they showed it, I was like, man, some of these people look unwell. They just look unwell. It's not good. And yeah, that was the big thing that jumped out for me when I was
looking at it going, is this an ad for a nursing home?
It's rough, man. It's rough. Like, it's TV.
That it is. So what was going on NRL 360 before I rudely interrupted everything?
No, that was it. I don't even know what they were talking about. I can't remember. I just saw a clip someone posted, and I was like, I had a look and I was like, man, that's not good. Like, I hope that person's all right.
That's exactly the same thing I thought today when after the footy, the Matty John show came on and I saw his facial hair and I went, oh, that's not good, man. I hope he's okay.
Oh, shit. That's funny.
What the fuck is that? It's like he started growing a mustache and then just went, nah, you know what? I'll just grow half of it and leave it.
Oh, we've got to do our Monday meltdowns.
Oh, yes, that's right. We do too. You did tell me to be prepared.
Yeah.
And that was the one job you had me do.
Yes.
So guess what?
Yes.
Fucking all over it.
Excellent.
Let's just keep talking until I find the page.
Okay.
And I get to bring them up. Where the fuck is it?
It's in the messages.
I found it.
You got it?
I think so. The last one? Okay. Alan Pearce. Our I've got to take that back. The esteemed Dr. Alan Pearce has contacted us. This is for his Monday meltdown. The lack of sin bin for head-high impacts.
Yeah, last round, there was definitely a few that were like, they should have been sent to the sin bin. And the NRL came out this week with an edict saying, we're going to start sending people to the sin bin for high tackles. And, of course, people were like, oh, my God, every high tackle in the NRL had to come out and say, no, not every high tackle, but the ones that are forceful. And so, yeah, I don't know why they'd stopped doing that, but they had. And it's good to see those sin bins will be back because they need to be back.
Was that not something that happened at the very tail end of Greenberg's tenure? Remember they were going nuts on penalties and rightfully so. There's a big crackdown. I know most of it was on the ruck, but even high tackles were getting punished a lot by referees. Yeah. And we had, from memory, Phil Gould came out going, we should just be penalising the obvious ones.
Yeah, which is, I love it when he says stuff like that.
It's like, you know what? They're all kind of like wrong. Like you can't just obviously murder someone and then unobviously do it as well.
It's like when he would say like about the obstruction rule, and he'd be like, we should only penalise the obvious ones, and it's like, what he really means is I should be in charge of everything. That's what he's really saying. Yeah,
and it's good that he's not.
Yes.
Because he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he should.
There's zero consistency in anything he says.
Yeah. Which is disappointing because he does have quite a good footy brain, but his journo, opinion writer brain has become much stronger. And it's taken over and it's making him say stupid shit.
I think he likes it when it's about him.
Well, that's also true. It's Matty Johns falls into exactly the same group, except the stupid idiot part took over a long, long time ago. And we occasionally, when he lets his guard down, he occasionally accidentally lets the intelligent footy brain thing come out, and they go, "Oh, what's this?" He goes, "Oh shit, sorry, I didn't mean that. Next week I'm going to light my farts on fire."
I like to say, like, Matthew Johns is great footy mime.
It's happened. Trust me. There's been like 3 instances where I think I've seen it happen.
Other people say mind. I don't say mind. I say mine.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Was that the only Mad Monday one we had?
No, we had a heap of them there. There was a whole list of them.
There's only one that came up on Instagram. I looked at it just then.
It was in the Twitter DM that Nadine sent us.
So I've got to check 3 different things now.
No, you had to check the one thing that I told you to check before the podcast. And you said, "Sure thing, League Freak."
People might get the impression that I'm shit at this. It's coming. I've just gone to Twitter. It's coming up saying something went wrong. Try reloading. I go reload. Nothing happens. So Elon Musk has fucked you over.
Okay, let me find it. Jesus, it would be funny if Twitter had died on us at the moment.
I've legit got. I can't read any of my messages on here. I don't know what's going on.
Let me have a look. My Twitter is loading up. This is good listening.
See, I'll even take a screenshot. I'm going to prove.
Oh yeah, it's not working.
See.
It's not working.
See.
Damn it.
I'll check on my phone and see if it's on there. See, Elon Musk, he's too busy running this big, anti-Tesla thing going on. There's got people over in America going around destroying other people's cars because they somehow think that that's going to hurt Elon Musk. Americans are weird. So he's now on some campaign to trying to stop people doing that. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
It's all a bit weird.
So I've got it
on my phone. Yeah, that's right. I've just seen here. I found something that I found amusing today. It was a job ad.
Oh yeah.
Memberships and fan development coordinator for Rugby Australia.
Yeah.
Is that the easiest job ever? Right. Where are they? There's an article there. Who wrote that? Oh, that's that fucking Dean Ritchie bullshit, is it?
Yep.
Like he'd know. When did you do this? There's one there. Oh, all-round refereeing decisions this week has been a standout. As in standout good or standout bad?
Hey, hang on. Who said, Andrew, I'm going to teach you how to podcast, man. Jesus. Who said the fucking Mad Monday meltdown? You got to say who it was and then read out what they said.
At Kieran De Guara. I was actively trying to avoid it because I knew I'd say his name wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. All-round refereeing decisions this week has been a standout. But I don't know if he means standout bad or standout good.
I think he would probably mean standout bad.
I mean, you can speak for him if you like. I didn't see enough football to see anything that was atrocious, and I haven't heard anything in the media being critical of it.
Look, there have been some weird decisions so far this year. Nothing that I've looked at when I've been like, oh my goodness, that's atrocious. That's cost someone a game that I can think of anyway.
Yeah, there's been none of that going on.
Like just bad refereeing for both sides. I've seen a lot of that.
You'll always hear coaches going about how the referees cost them a game or some of that, Ricky Stewart type or shit, but I don't actually know of any examples of that this year. Yeah,
the thing that I would like to see referees stop doing is just hammering teams with 6 again calls. Let the teams play. Let them decide it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still not sold on the 6 again thing. I don't think it's achieving anything that they've tried telling me that it's designed to do.
Yeah, I agree.
All it's done is just allowed teams to harvest possession, which is isn't that just part of what rugby union is?
Yeah, rugby league moved away from unlimited tackles for a reason. And so, to semi bring it back is a bad idea for a reason.
Yeah. It just feels wrong.
Yeah.
Matt Addard, one of our first ever guests, or was he actually our first guest? He might have been our first.
He might have been our first guest, yeah.
He says, what pisses me off is that when you watch high tackles back on replay, it's almost always impossible for the defender to have done anything different to avoid the contact. It's almost always accidental and not reckless. This is the problem you get, though, is when that does happen. Like, the referee is going to have to, it's because of the whole, looking after head injuries now, which we have to do, is you got to treat every tackle where a player's head gets hit. You got to treat them all the same. Otherwise, you're going to open yourself up to, why didn't that get called? And why didn't this get called? And so now, we're not having people say that anymore because it's all getting pulled up. And eventually it should lead to players not doing that as often.
Yeah, and look, I get where Matt is coming from, because there's a difference between getting blasted in the head by someone's shoulder and arm coming across. There's a difference between that and getting smacked in the mouth, for instance, and it's just a smack in the mouth. Or there's a difference between that and just getting sort of collared around the neck, and it's a high tackle, but it's not like it shook your brain up or anything. It's just like not comfortable. And I think for the most part, what we've seen so far this year is that they've kind of been pretty good at who they sin bin in regards to those things. But, it really is difficult, especially when a player ducks into a tackle, for them not to get hit in the head. Because, you duck your head into someone, the first thing that contacts them is your head. And it's not because they wanted to, it's because you did it.
Yeah, that's right. In moments like that, you go, well, surely that's self-inflicted. But at the same time, you want to try and make sure you're protecting people's heads. You go, where do you draw the line on that? The other one I've seen, which has been cracked down an awful lot on, is, and almost, I'm surprised we haven't seen tackling techniques change, is the player coming from behind, tackling over the shoulder. They're not actually aiming to hit someone in the head, but the margin of error is so small. Like, you're inevitably going to hit someone in the head at some point. But tackling over the shoulder of the attacking player is just like nearly every single time that's going to lead to a penalty. Like, why keep doing it?
I think they're doing that to avoid those hip drop tackles, because normally you'll tackle around the hips and take their legs out, but it's just too much of a risk. And I think that you're right, because you come down with your arm, basically has to come down at an angle that is not natural to how your arm is. And if you do it right, it comes down around their chest. And if you do it just a couple of degrees different, it comes up around their sort of jaw area instead.
Yeah.
I just knocked my microphone, and the arm just decided it doesn't want to stay up. There we go. It's staying up now. My arm is.
You treat it like that, like you treat our interns.
I have zero regard for it, and I don't even consider it to be a person.
That's right. All you are is something that has to sit there and hold my microphone so that the world can hear me talk.
Exactly.
I'm here for that. It's a tricky one. Like, if they start being lenient on some tackles, and even for being lenient for the right reasons, because it just doesn't look like it's that bad, then you just open up little windows where if the tackle goes a little bit long, someone's going to get penalised. Going, but this other bloke did it last week and it wasn't quite the same as that, and he just play on. And as soon as you start getting into that grey area, you start bringing it back, that's all people will focus on. And that's not what we kind of want people not talking about referees at all. Not because we're trying to protect them, but because we'd rather that they're not the reason that we get a result in a game.
Yeah. And that's the area where it upsets me the most, when it feels like the referee isn't letting the teams work it out.
Yeah, which is that's what we want, and that's what I think we're starting to get back to that now. I think any issues that people have got with the refereeing at the moment might be just to the slight tweaks and stuff to the rules and stuff that have gone on. I don't know if it's actually. I I don't think there's been that much really atrocious refereeing. I don't think that happens all that often anyway.
At least when and in games, Ashley Klein doesn't referee. He's fucking atrocious.
My only beef with referees is with Bill Harrigan.
Yeah.
Bob Fulton had a point.
Look, Bill Harrigan didn't set the height of the crossbar, okay?
That's right. It's entirely his fault. So I'm not blaming him for that one. He's penalising a player for not playing the first inches of the game. Oh, fucking hell. Just admit that you fucking put your arm up the wrong way, you idiot. No, because my ego is more important than rules. Anyways,
Andrew's having name flashbacks. This is great.
Oh boy, yes, that was a long time ago. I should keep it in the past.
Yeah.
What else is going on this week?
That's pretty much it.
We haven't done a bit of a Super League wrap. How do you feel about the fact that Hull KR are still the only undefeated team in the comp?
I feel really comfortable with it because, what?
I was going to say, it's really crazy. I just saw the ladder.
Yeah.
Hull FC is second, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But they've had 4 wins, a loss, and a draw, and their points difference is -7.
Yeah. Look, Super League is weird, and if you want to make sense of it, you're going to go crazy, and that's fine.
46-4 loss to Wigan. Everything else has been close games.
Yeah.
Okay. They need to sort that out.
I haven't watched Super League this year because I just don't care anymore.
Why don't you watch a Salford game? Surely that'd be entertaining.
Because I've got 1,000 things I would rather do than watch a Salford game.
Watch St Helens games.
I would rather do 1,000 things than watch a St Helens game.
Oh man, it's a mess down there.
Down where? What are you talking about?
At the bottom of the Super League ladder, Castleford, Salford's, Huddersfield.
Yeah,
they're just getting pounded.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know.
It's like, no, sorry.
We'll just go through the ladder. From 1st to 12th, Hull KR, Hull FC, Wigan, St Helens, Warrington, Lee, and then at 7th is Leeds. Then you've got Wakefield, Catalan, Castleford, Salford, Huddersfield. Huddersfield haven't won a game yet.
They'll get there eventually.
Well, when they get to play Salford, they will.
Yeah.
What else is there? There's other comps here. North, Redcliffe, Townsville, and Ipswich are undefeated in the Queensland Cup. That's about it. I'm trying to find anything that's kind of weird. There's nothing.
No, there's nothing all that weird that I can think of that's happened in the world of rugby league.
Featherstone's gone from being one of the top teams in second division to being second last.
Yeah.
That's something to look forward to. Halifax might be getting promoted.
I think
Salford.
I think Halifax might have some financial difficulties, actually.
Nah, they won't save until next year. That's what everyone else is doing. That's pretty much it. The other thing is Yuki Tsunoda is going to be in the Red Bull.
Yeah, they made that switch. I was actually watching a thing where they said that it's a very big business situation for Red Bull because they've got the Honda engines. They get the Japanese driver in, and so it's a massive deal in that regard for the Japanese Grand Prix that's coming up. I think it's this weekend.
It is, yeah.
And I didn't even think of it that way. I think that just driver-wise, it was a change they had to make sooner rather than later. Because Liam Lawson, I don't know what the deal was there. I have a feeling that Red Bull is horrifying to drive, and that maybe it just works for Verstappen. And I think Schumacher had a few cars that were like that over his career where he could sort of drive around the issues, but then he had teammates and they were like, this thing's a pig to drive. I think the Red Bull might be along those lines this year.
I was wondering actually if it was just they'd poured so much money into getting the setup right in Verstappen's car that all they had was like, a 5 down the back of the coach lift for the other one.
Well, I was wondering that too, especially like in the first round in Australia. But then I watched some videos with Adrian Newey, who was talking about last year the stability issues in this car started to creep out, and he was worried about them, and the technical team sort of weren't as worried as he was, and they felt that the drivers could drive around the issues. And obviously one of them could and the other one couldn't. And I think it's been that way. I think it's gotten worse this year, and it's been the same situation. I think that I have a feeling if you took Verstappen out of his car and put in most drivers in that car, they'd be down near the bottom of the table. I just think it's Verstappen is so good that he's just driving around it at the moment. Because it's not like we've seen Verstappen start stamping down times any time this year. He's kind of just been all right.
And he's just off the pace as well.
Yeah. So I think that's more likely what it is.
I think it's interesting is, not advocating for him either here, but the only other driver I know of who's got a similar setup preference to Verstappen is actually Daniel Ricciardo. And it just sort of seems weird that they didn't put him in there, knowing that the car was kind of better set up for Ricciardo than it was for Perez before and for Lawson now. I'm not saying that Ricciardo would have been out there, competing for the championship. He wouldn't have been, but he would have at least been getting top 10 a lot more regularly than Perez was last year and Lawson this year. And that's kind of all they need. He's just someone who's safe, because the other thing that Ricciardo had is he didn't really crash that often, so he's a lot cheaper to have around than Perez, who's smashing into walls every second week.
I just think they didn't want to deal with all the people that were crying about him like he'd fucking won something once in his career.
Actually, I think most of the people that were crying about him were just people who only knew Formula One through Drive to Survive.
Exactly.
Oh, he's so funny and has a lovely smile, and that's pretty much it.
He's such a great guy, yeah, but he can't fucking win in the best cars on the,
It's, But that just seems weird to me. Like even last year, just ditch Perez. You didn't have to drag him out for the whole year when you knew you were going to sack him. You just put Ricciardo in that thing for the rest of that year. And if you had to leave him there this year, could have just been a cheap alternative until you actually got Hadjar. Looks like he's got potential to be, a year or two, and you could slot him in there. He just jump in straight up.
You know who I've been a bit impressed with was, I think his name is Anatoly.
Oh, yeah.
In the Mercedes. He's put in a few... he hasn't put together a whole race yet, but there's been moments where I've been like, this guy might have something. You never know. It's a little bit like... at the moment, Formula One with the young drivers, it's a bit like an NRL coach. You don't know until they get the chance. But he's impressed me a little bit. The Ferraris have been a little bit off compared to where I thought they would be.
I expect them to be a little bit more consistent, but because it's been raining, that means that the Mercedes strategy has been an absolute crapshoot. And when they do that, they always crap. The Mercedes strategy in the wet is just woeful. Remember there was a race last year and it was pissing down rain, and every single car, was it last year or the year before, every single car peeled into the pits after doing the formation lap. They all come in and they'll put on inters, but Charles Leclerc stayed out on hards.
I can't remember that. Yeah,
and after 2 laps, he's like 40 seconds behind everybody else. Would have been a Monza. I can't remember. I just thought, what are they doing?
Yeah,
it's raining. Why have you got him on slicks?
I just think sometimes you want to be on the right tyre at the right time, and sometimes they outsmart themselves.
Yeah. Well, this is going to work out. If the rain clears up, they've all got to come in again, and we'll be the only ones out there. We'll be fucking first by heaps.
The whole idea of listen, the car is completely undrivable, but in 5 laps from now, you're going to be on the right tyre. That's just bad, all right? You would give me the fucking intermediates for 5 laps, and then I'll worry about the hard tyre in 7 or 8 laps if I have to, you know? But that's what you see some of these teams do. We saw it this year. There was a race where they were like, it's going to rain, you know, and if we stay through this for the next 3 laps, it'll dry up. And it's like, well, first of all, the track doesn't dry up immediately. It stays wet for a while. And second of all, you've got an undrivable car for 3 laps. And it really cost some drivers when they did that. So never mind.
You know, there's some people who watch car racing. Doesn't matter what sort it is. They watch car racing in the hope you might get to see a crash because they're a bit sick.
Yeah.
I watch it not for the crash, and sometimes not even for the racing. I watch it just to see what sort of fuck up they can make when it comes to strategy.
Yeah.
Because there's typically only about 2 or 3 strategies you can possibly have in a Formula One race. And then you'll always find that one outlier. Just go, let's do something different. And 99% of the time, that different is complete fuck up.
It is always interesting when you see everyone sticking on like the intermediates, for instance, and then one back marker will go on to slicks, and you just wait, and all of a sudden that back marker makes 10 seconds on everyone, and everyone scrambles in for the slicks. I love it when that sort of stuff happens. But I tell you what, up front, it's going to be an interesting title race because I think Piastri has improved again. And it's going to be hard to stop him. He just needs to keep his results consistent. He can't keep having races where he you know, gets no points, for instance, or he gets 1 point. You know, he has to salvage 1 or 2 points. He can't have those performances. And if he does that this year, he's going to be really difficult to beat because speed-wise, he looks like he's got it more this year than he had last year.
He reminds me a bit of a young Raikkonen at the moment, like on the track. He just seems to be cool, calm. He's always got the car doing pretty consistent laps. And has Raikkonen when he was younger, makes passes at some really, really obscure times. But makes them clean. He's like, okay, you couldn't just wait until you got to, you know, a better parts. No, let's just do it now. It'll be fine. But yeah, I really do like the way he drives. He's great to watch.
You know who Ricardo reminds me of? A poor man's Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
I think you say a poor man's Jacques Villeneuve.
No, Jacques Villeneuve won a championship.
That's also poor man's version.
Oh, you know. Nah, poor man's Heinz-Harald Frentzen. He had a couple of good cars that he drove and didn't really do much with it. Best days were at Sauber.
At least you put him above David Coulthard.
Oh, well, it's easy. I mean, if you put Heinz-Harald Frentzen in a fucking the Silver Arrows when they're at their best, okay, and then you put him in a Red Bull, you put him in a 94 Williams, fuck.
Yeah, it was a special one, old Dave.
Yeah. Amazing how many. That's like 3 of the 5 best cars in the last 50 years he drove.
Yeah.
Think about that.
He had a pretty good run.
He drove more good cars than Michael Schumacher did.
Yeah. It went well for him.
Yeah.
I think, was he the one who crashed his car on the main straight at the Australian Grand Prix on the formation lap one year?
I don't remember that.
I think it was.
Yeah.
It was just coming to the grid to start the race, and he lost it in the final corner.
That's a rough one.
That was funny. Not the funniest thing I've seen, but it's up there. I think the funniest thing was Lance Stroll last year.
Oh, yeah. That was amazing.
The team radio says, okay, you can go in reverse because there's only a gravel trap in front of you, so obviously don't drive in that. The reverse is there. Just reverse it up. It's a formation lap. There's no one around. And he goes, yeah, no worries. He just drives forward into the gravel trap.
In the fucking pouring rain. Like...
And they're on the radio saying, Lance, you can go in reverse. He says, I'm beached. And they're like, how? You were on the road.
Look, I saw Alan Prost racing. I saw Nigel Mansell racing. And I think that's the dumbest fucking thing I've seen ever in all that time. So, yeah, that was
next level. That's going to take some beating.
Yeah.
And the other person to beat is going to be Lance Stroll. Well, look, on that magnificent note, we might have to wrap this one up. Thanks for tuning in to our Formula One podcast. It's been great once again. Make sure you check us out on all the socials, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere there. Subscribe, like, all that sort of stuff. Make sure you respond to our Instagram post for the Mad Monday cranky comment thing.
Meltdown.
You'll see it.
Yeah.
You'll see it. Leave a comment there. That'd be great. If you want to, you can also leave them on our Twitter account as well.
Yeah.
I'll try and make sure that I check that out, and I'll have a word with my my team, Elon, to make sure that he's got his shit together next week.
I'm glad you do it because I don't like to talk to the help.
No, well, Elon's he's a rather entitled member of the help. Don't know why he thinks he's so fucking important.
You send 15 rockets up, and all of a sudden you think you're like great,
Ooh, la-di-da.
Oh, I saved some fucking astronauts. Wow, la-di-da.
Yeah. Try recording 553 podcasts.
Yeah.
He hasn't even done that.
It's better than, fucking owning the biggest car company in the world.
Anyone can do that. I could have done that.
Yeah. Just didn't want to.
Just didn't want to. I had a podcast to do. That was more important. See, I know my responsibilities.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Make sure you check us out everywhere, and we will catch you all next time.